Hello, welcome to the Bay of Bank Conversation, Rising Tides, convened here by the Center of Governance Studies in Dhaka. I'm Leonardo Neves from the International Intelligence Units from Getulio Vargas Foundation in Brazil, and I'm here to host this meeting. We are going to talk about war, pandemic, and bottlenecks in the global supply chain. To help me understand a little bit more about the key issues regarding global value chains in front of this, in face of this new challenges that we have been seeing the last few years, I have on my right side my dear friend Simon Kofi Tettey from Ghana, but he's in Malaysia right now. He will present himself in a bit. And on my left side, I have Dr. Kalimullah, that is from here, Bangladesh, and also again will help me understand a little bit about more this subject. Before handing the word to my colleagues here, I think it's one thing, it's important to set up the scenario, to lay in the playing field. We are moving to a different place here when you think about global value chains. We are coming from a period in the last 2 decades of the last century, or in the beginning of this century, which efficiency was the key word. We have to do more with less. An idea of offshoring, sending your company, send your fabrics, your plants to other countries to make the best of it, it's the main creed, it's the main rule. Right now, facing these new issues, such as pandemics, such as the war, and other possible conflicts that we have been seeing in the world nowadays, we are coming up with new ideas. Protectionism, for instance, bringing the idea of reshoring, bringing back the companies. Some of them are thinking about nearshoring, bring the companies to your region, or friendly shoring, bring your companies to friendly countries that you feel that you can trust more in the sense. And I think the war is more important here when many different countries took their business out of Russia and put in countries that they think they will not engage in war, or at least they are like-minded countries. So right now the thing is, we thought about efficiency, and now resiliency is also a key word when you think about global value chains. So, Simon, please let me know what you think about this new movement. How it's impacting global value chains, how logistics play a role in this sense.
Yeah, I think so. After the pandemic, or during the pandemic itself,
please let me know who you are for us. Distinct guests can know.
Okay, my name is Simon Kofi Tettey. I'm originally from Ghana, but I'm currently working for WHO Global Service Center in Malaysia. Thank you. Thank you, Leo, for this question. So during the pandemic, we had a lot of supply chain distractions. And one of them, even though we try to thrive, because most of them is due to the resilience within the supply chain, the lack of resilience within the supply chain. And so as part of our effort to improve the resilience, it will help us. In terms of war, as you well know, movement will be difficult. Like what happened to the agreement for the wheat. You see that all of a sudden, Russia has decided not to respect the agreement. So you see, all those things affect supply chain and logistics in general. So in my opinion, in order to ensure resilience within the supply chain, countries or regions must be able to have more than one suppliers across the world, so that in case of any distraction, you can be able to rely upon them. Another way is also technology, digital transformation within the supply chain. You should be able to trace every steps within the supply chain of your suppliers to ensure that you know what is going on so that you are not caught in between the surprises. You are really aware of what is going on. And also, I think the region, which is with South Asia, can leverage on the suppliers within the region, because I think almost about 80% of suppliers that supply goods across the world are based in Asia. So South Asia can leverage on that and build their capacity to help with the region. So these are my initial thoughts. I think as the time goes by, we'll be able to leverage on other points that I have.
Most excellent. Please, Dr. Kalimullah, present yourself and then let me know about your major thoughts about this thing.
Thank you. Well, my name is Professor Dr. Nazmul Hassan Kalimullah. I'm basically an academic with the University of Dhaka, which is the university of the country. And I have a diversity of interests. I have also a poll monitoring hat. So that's all for now. And with reference to where my friend ended, start my deliberation from there. You know, from historical perspective, I can say that previously the world was Eurocentric, and then it shifted to North Atlantic region, North Atlantic centric, and then it shifted to Asia. 21st century is for Asia, and global attention has been shifted from Europe, North America to Asia. Especially South Asia has become very important lately, and across the Himalayas, China. So the two giants, China and India, they are coming up. One is a one-party state, another is a multi-party system is there, and largest democracy in the world, India. And Bangladesh is acting as a bridge between South Asia and Southeast Asia, that in, i.e. the Asian countries. And here, supply chain matters a lot. And although in terms of geographic size, Bangladesh is small, but in terms of population, it's quite big, 7th or 8th position in the world. And the whole region has become volatile as well, because India, our immediate neighbor, and Pakistan, distant neighbor, they have become nuclear nations, and so is China. So security is a big concern, and we have the influx of Rohingya refugees from Myanmar, and with the advent of Burma Act, the whole scenario has changed, and Bangladesh is a frontline state with reference to Burma or Myanmar. So against this backdrop, we'll have to consider what is happening all over.
See. Fantastic. Simon, I'll go back to you. You mentioned two things that I think is very important. You told about the need of countries having more than one source right now. Before that, again, for the sake of efficiency, we always look for the cheapest buyer, the cheapest producer. And right now we have to be the cheapest, but the second, third, and fourth perhaps cheapest, so we can create overlaps and create resilience on top of it. But again, that costs money, because we're not going on the cheaper, but the second and third, and that they all cost more money than the second. That's something that we have to check, how to somehow to cope with. But again, you mentioned one idea that I think is very important, especially in this case, about technology. I mean, technology could be a venue that we can cope with the rising costs of finding new sources. I've been working with technology for several years now. I think it's a very interesting thing right now. And blockchain, for instance, is one of my major topics, and I think that's very important. IoT, artificial intelligence, clouds, of course, blockchain, as I said. So my question to you is, how can we take profits from these technologies to couple with this rising prices, and which are the major technologies that you think that can help, and how they can help in logistics?
Okay, thank you, Leo. First of all, one thing that we must know for supply chain in general, the principles that are being applied within the private sector should be the same as within the government and the public institutions. Because for supply chain, if you need to transport something, you don't need to you just need to transport it. Now, but over the years, for the government institutions and public institutions, what we notice, the trend is that they are not being efficient. There is no transparency in these sourcing strategies of these public institutions. They are not fair. They don't encourage competition. And therefore, since they lost these three pillars, there's no value for money for the sourcing. you can see that the private sector will buy this bottle of water for 10 taka, but the government will buy it for 100 taka. Why? The government rather have scale, you know, to buy more. So they should rather buy cheaper. But because there's no transparency, there's no fairness, they don't encourage competition, there's no value for money in what they buy. So this is one thing we must take note of. Now, secondly, as part of a movement for supply chain, what supply chain like most is free movement of people, goods and people. And we could have a situation where a driver could be from Nepal, but is working here. So maybe for him to drive maybe to Thailand, there will be problem because maybe visa issues. So another way is regional cooperation. I know ASEAN is working, but SAC is not working well. So I would expect the regional bodies within the South Asia or ask SAC to rather apply for extension to ASEAN for that cooperation, so that there should be a free movement of goods and people, like what we have in West Africa, where the 15 countries within the ECOWAS, West Africa, there is free movement of goods and people from the time I was born up to now. And the one thing is, if maybe people commit crime in another country, no, but we deal with, the government to say, deal with those individuals and respect the ECOWAS protocols. So there should be that regional cooperation must work. And in terms of the technology, as you said, I think we all cannot run away from AI. And it's a necessary evil, even though it has its bad side, but we must be able to leverage on it. For instance, for you to be able to track your shipment, maybe where is my shipment? Like we have a lot of technologies these days powered by AI to be able to do like kind of a GPS tracker to know where the shipment is. So if you, maybe you are buying something from Thailand or from India or China, those technologies could be able to enable that. And also in terms of sourcing, for us to be able to source and make it more efficient, we need to digitalize the process. So we can say, okay, suppliers, everybody should submit their bid online so that nobody will see it, because what usually happens within the public sector is there is kind of insider information. Oh, this Leo has submitted a bid for maybe 10 taka. If you want to win, you need to submit your own 5 taka. You know? But if everything is digitalized, where we have a platform, e-sourcing platform, where if you want to source for a particular service or goods, you just do it online. With elimination of government officials and public officials, we'll probably make a gains in that aspect. Yeah.
But, okay, excellent. But for a follow-up question on that, you mentioned something that's very interesting that I want to throw almost the same question to you, but I think it's important. But I want to hear from you, how then governments can work with companies to make this, make sense? Because you said that companies have to work with governance, they cannot work by themselves.
Yes.
So how they can work together? What are the avenues? What are the pathways, the mechanisms that can work together?
Okay, I think PPAs, the government, the PPAs, and then they can do this kind of public-private partnerships. And through that, then even most of the finances will not be on the government. It will be kind of shared between the private sector and the government. So the government doesn't need to borrow. For instance, if you want to build a road, you need that partnership with the private sector. The private sector will say, okay, we want to build this road for you. At the end of the day, we want to do a toll so that we can be able to use the toll to recoup our money. So I think that kind of a private public sector partnership is very important to also leverage on that.
I see. So Dr. Kalimullah, more or less on the same issue. Again, in a scenario that we were living in, the idea that about free markets was the major objective, and how we thought that we believed in, companies could have more freedom of movement and try to operate in different countries, find out different advantage that they could find in different countries, makes sense. They have, of course, to deal with certain regulation for different countries, but the general idea was that they have this kind of freedom. Right now, we are coming back, many distinguished political scientists are discussing that we are coming back to a geopolitical world, in which we have confrontations between different countries. Majorly, we can see, of course, the distancing between U.S. and China. Right now, the Russian being separated to the West, Western Europe and U.S. major in a major sense. So how come these geopolitical issues, the geopolitical struggles, are going to impact right now on the supply chains that are needed? Because again, we saw how supply chains are important during the pandemic. We saw how any given country can produce everything. Mm-hmm. Any given country can have access to everything. We need the others to move around the goods to get who can produce more. But again, we have to have some redundancies, as Simon said. So how can, in this new geopolitical world, we can deal with these threats?
Well, it varies from region to region. I mean, Latin American experience of ECLA is there. Okay. In South Asia is unique because the very formation of SAARC had inbuilt limitations. When late President Ziaur Rahman took the initiative in Bangladesh, we found that the arch rivals, India and Pakistan, they are at loggerheads with each other all the time. When we went for extension of membership, included Afghanistan, and Afghanistan is a typical case. Say, it used to be run by warlords, and after the Talibani takeover, still in isolation. So the more this rivalry between India and Pakistan continues, and especially on Kashmir issue, is acting as a stumbling block. And visa restriction is always there, and SAARC's spirit has been compromised because everything got to be sorted out bilaterally, okay, not multilaterally. And there's tension between China and India again. This border dispute is there. Lately, China has reiterated its claim on Arunachal province. They treat it as southern Tibet, and Kashmir is a disputed territory. It has three parts: Indian administered Kashmir, Pakistan administered Kashmir, and Chinese administered Kashmir, Aksai Chin and other areas. So all this has sort of influenced the bilateral, multilateral cooperation, collaboration scenario. We know that southern India, especially Bengaluru, has emerged as the Silicon Valley of South Asia, but as member countries, we are not successful in reaping the full benefit of that. And again, we have edge in terms of apparel industry, but again, we are just only sewing. We call it stitching the stopper. Mm-hmm. Multi-fiber arrangement is there. So there are a lot of future potential challenges we'll have to cope with. So, Myanmar and the influx of Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh has become a perennial problem. So all these factors has made it difficult for us to go for regional cooperation in full swing, and election also matters a lot. 2024 is the year when Bangladesh, India and Pakistan, all these three major stakeholders in the region would be going through electioneering process. Mm-hmm. So the transition and also where eventually we land, that depends on a lot of factors. So there's every possibility of instability in the region in near future.
Okay, a lot of things to digest. But you gave me some hints here that I think there's some things that we have to think about it. And I have one idea that I think that we have to share with our viewers here is that about this regionalization. I mean, you focus more or less in your region, in the Indo-Pacific region, but there is something that I think it's important to understand. And I will ask you briefly because we are already out of time.
Of course.
How can developing countries and from different regions take advantage from these movements? Because again, we are looking for the most cheapest places to go, and of course we have China has some places that it was very difficult to compete. All of us come from different countries, developing countries that have difficulty to enter in the top echelons of the global value chains. So with this friendly shoring, near shoring, how can developing countries can take advantage to move up in the global value chain?
Well, they will have to be down to earth and have to be dynamic enough and must trying to explore the possibilities such as private-public partnership, which my friend has hinted to. And there is ample room for innovation. I mean, you've got to have the open mind and also should be able to embrace which is new, ideas, thoughts, technology. And the advent of AI has opened up a new horizon, robotics, electrical automobile, and all these potential sectors can open up new avenues of cooperation, collaboration.
Amazing, very likely. Well, we are coming to an end. Before we finish, I would like to ask a small question to each of you. Yes. Again, in the unfortunate event that whoever is watching us has a collapse in the mind and forgets about everything. What's the key takeaway that this person cannot forget? I mean, what's the key idea that you think that when you think about the near future, global value chains in the near future, what this person cannot forget? Simon?
I think, thank you, Leo. I think the key takeaway is government supply chain need to be more transparent. They need to be fair. They need to encourage competition. That will ensure there's value for money. And above all, last but not the least, regional cooperation is very important. And that is what to enable the supply chain to work very well and ensure there is a resilience and then security within the supply chain.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, I would add to this like this, it's not only efficiency which matters, it's effectiveness. So the government and also the private sector got to be wary and take into consideration the issues in a broad and open mind. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for being here with us. My distinguished guests are here, and for CGS for hosting us. Thank you very much.